Learning how to speak comfortably in front of other people is a critical skill, especially if you're looking to advance your career.
It absolutely is. And mastering the art of public speaking doesn't always come easily to people. So if you thought you were going to give a speech or presentation, if you think it's anxiety-inducing, our next guest, apparently he's going to help.
He's going to help?
He's going to help.
I think he will.
You may have seen this man before. Jason Pfeiffer, editor-in-chief for Entrepreneur Magazine, friend of the show. Hello, my darling.
Great to be here as
Welcome back
always.
again. Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
to see you, Jason. Happy New Year.
So normally you talk to us about finance.
Yes.
Things to do in the workplace. Last time he was here, we started talking about public speaking. I can't even remember why.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Here we are. We had to do the follow-up.
We had to do the follow-up.
Big thing. Is it true that it is one of the, it's on the top of the list of fears, greatest fears,
Yeah,
right? for
probably
most
right up
people?
there with like spiders or something. But it is really also a finance subject because if you want to advance your career, you better be good at this because this is how you get comfortable pitching yourself, talking to a team, you get to address your company, you're more visible, you're more authoritative, and if you're really, really good at it, you can actually make money doing just that.
That's how we started talking about it.
That's right. That was his exiting comment. Was about,
We
yeah,
were
you can make
talking
a
about
living doing
side
this.
hustles, and he said, well, I do
It's a
public
nice
speaking.
side hustle.
But you have to be able to do it well.
Correct.
And I think, I'm sure we've all heard, oh, if you have to speak in front of your class or you have to speak in front of a big group, imagine everyone's naked.
I don't understand that.
I
never got that.
That
Doesn't
would
work for
make
me.
me repel. I'd be
Right.
like, I don't want to
Deeply
speak to any of you.
Please
your
put a
clothes
shirt on
back
over there.
on.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that boils down to nerves.
Right.
So what do you
do?
Yeah, what do you do?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that also is going to sound weird, but not as weird as imagining everyone naked, which is start by creating a character for yourself that you play. Now, why do people get uncomfortable when they speak publicly? It's often because they feel exposed, because they feel vulnerable, they don't know what they're doing, and everyone's looking. So fine, don't put yourself out there. Put the character out there. Take 5% of you, the 5% of you that's smartest, most confident, knows the material, that is your character. Now start to think, how does that character talk? How does that character move? Right now, I am playing a character named Jason Pfeiffer, and he talks and moves like this. Is this how I would talk if we were having dinner? No, that would be obnoxious.
It would make me
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, it would be so weird.
But there is a degree of that.
But it's what I created so that when I go on camera, I don't feel nervous because I'm
Right.
just putting the character out there.
But that to me flies a little bit in the face of losing some genuineness in that connectivity because now you're no longer being you, you're playing the part of somebody.
Right.
So how do you balance that out a little bit?
So first of all, the character isn't somebody else. It's just a segment of you
part of
that
who you
you're
are.
that you're making sure is the exact right thing that you want to put out into the in front of the audience. But then let's talk about genuineness because a mistake a lot of people make is that if they're going to give a presentation, they memorize it word for word.
Oh, and you can tell.
You
when
can
you're in the audience, you
tell.
can tell. You could see sometimes their eyes are going through the script in their head. It's
Exactly,
crazy.
and that comes off as very ungenuine because you're reciting something rather than talking. And also, and I've seen this so many times, somebody gets on stage, they start talking, they stumble on a word, and then
They derail.
And then that face.
Train wreck going downhill.
it is awful. And I know what happened. They memorized it word for word, they lost their place in the script, they cannot find their place again. That is why you never memorize. Instead, internalize. Here's what I do. I create bullets, just the points that I want to make. And then I just start to talk it out.
Right.
I do it in my kitchen. This
Right.
morning, before prepping for this, I had written some bullet points, and I just talked it out in my kitchen because what I'm trying to do is figure out how do the ideas come out most naturally for me so that I feel like I know the material and I'm comfortable and I can navigate it, but I'm never anchored to it.
Yeah.
No, I like that.
This makes perfect
sense.
sense. It's also something we have learned in years of journalism. To have a story from that has a beginning, a
Yes.
middle, and an end.
Right.
I think some of the other points that trip you up when you speak, like me, is the
Yes.
like
Fillers.
So many of them. It's so natural. We all do it, but it makes you sound unconfident and not authoritative. So we got to get rid of those. Two-step process to do it. Number one, record yourself. Just take out your phone, voice memo, hit record, listen, record yourself talking.
Oh,
Then listen to it. It's awful. You're gonna.
It's terrible.
You'll hate it.
I hate it.
It's excruciating.
Yeah.
But you're going to start to hear all your verbal tics. You're going to say, oh, I'm a you-know person. And I say that all the time. So good, now you know that. And next, start to program into yourself. Every time you feel that coming out of your mouth, pause. Just replace it with a pause, a tiny little pause. And
He's pausing right now.
No, it does
He's
work.
Thinking.
Continue.
exactly
I'll
what
tell you
I
why,
do.
because I've experienced, 30 years of doing this, and I continue to always watch myself periodically because you fall into these verbal crutches.
Yes.
And, oh man, I said that again. And the minute it comes into my head, stop, period, give it a period, give it a beat. And beats are okay. I think we're afraid of that, the silence.
Silence
that
is
can be
fine.
really effective sometimes.
It can be
I
really
don't mean
effective.
16 seconds of silence while you're giving a public speech.
But yes, I agree. And in fact, sometimes people feel like they need to be so dense in what they're saying and pack so much in that you end up creating this terrible monotone of energy where it's just energy, energy. You need to pause, you need to change. So a little moment to say, what did I just say and what should I say next is really helpful. And I love that you just said, you're a pro at this. You've been doing this a long time. You still go back and listen to yourself because you will still fall into these things. You know what I've done recently that a
Please.
friend pointed out? When somebody asks me a question, I repeat, that's an interesting question. I do that during Q&As all the time. I have to stop that.
So that you can think of what your answer is going to
Exactly.
be?
Yeah. So instead of saying that, because it's a weird verbal tick, you can repeat the question back to someone, which then gives you a little time to think about it.
But if I hear that's an interesting question, as the interviewer, I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay. It makes me feel good. So don't stop doing that.
but
Great
until-
question, Kristen.
Yeah, I
you know.
love when I hear that.
But the problem is then what happens if she asks a question and I didn't say that's an
That's true.
interesting
Now you've
question?
got a problem.
it's
And then I'm like, you're dead to me. Where's Michelle?
That's an
Where
average
is Michelle
question.
Pfeiffer? I asked for Michelle
Yeah.
Pfeiffer, and they sent me
you
Jason
got
Pfeiffer.
the wrong Pfeiffer.
all good
These
stuff,
are
Jason.
invaluable tips, and because people really can make a side hustle out of talking, but know what you're talking about.
Yes.
You have to own the
Don't go
material.
in front of a room and talk about oranges if you're talking to a bunch of people that are growing bananas.
Well, watermelons. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Jason,
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
There it is. Chris is waiting for his cover, so just
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't show up to the photo shoot. We had it scheduled.
They had
I have to get satin pajamas apparently.
Well,
for that.
apparently.
And some cute dogs.
Yeah. Jason Pfeiffer, Entrepreneur Magazine. Thank you so much.
Great.